Hi everybody, this is Brenden here with Common Motor. That's common-motor.com on the internet. Today we're going to show you how to change your tires using some basic tire changing hand tools so you can do it at home. We're going to show you how to change the tires on your vintage Honda. Of course, this is going to apply to any other motorcycle. It's not like a Honda specific thing. We're going to be doing it on our wheel for our shop 360, get a tire swap going on. Now, contrary to popular belief, a lot of people think you have to have a big fancy tire machine like the shops do to do a tire change. Not true. We're going to show you how to do it with some really basic hand tire changing tools and the know-how and techniques to do that, which means you can do it at home or do it on the side of the road if you need to. And once you master it, the same technique applies for all wheels. So people always ask, when do I need to change the tire? So we're talking about two different scenarios. One is you got your old ancient bike, you've pulled out of the barn and are restoring, much like our fixing to ride project bikes that have tires that have been on them for who knows how long. Second scenario is, well, you're running a bike and the tire is just kind of worn out because of the tread wear. This is the tire we're going to change on our bike. This is a Bridgestone Battle Axe. It's been a great tire. We had it on our shop 360 for years, but we finally have kind of worn the center down, and you can see where the tread doesn't have much life left in the center, but the sides still have plenty of tread depth to them. So it's time to swap the tire. This tire had a lot of highway miles on it, and it's starting to become kind of flat in the middle and not round like we want to see. So we're going to change it out. We're going to put on a set of our Heidenau Vintage street tires on the bike and start rolling around on that. Got a pair of our Common Motor house brand premium tire levers here. I'm going to show you guys how to use them. I also have something else I'm going to use here. This is called tire lube. This is stuff specifically for the tire industry, but you can use Windex or soapy water. Actually, Windex works just fine. It just tends to evaporate a little bit quicker. This will stay lubricated longer. And the other important thing I want to point out is always note where your valve stem is. You never want to start or end your tire prying process at the valve stem. It's the hardest area to get tire over the rim here. So I'm going to start it like 180 from it, which is over here, and go from there. Get my second lever in. First thing I'm going to do is just going to work my way around the tire and pop the bead. I'll show you what the bead is once we get the tire off position with the rim. When your tire is old, that can be really tough to do. So I've got my kind of curved end of the tire lever facing down, and you'll see why here in a second. Get my second one in here. This is where it gets fun. That's pretty much it right there. That's the first half of the bead. And this is our tire tamer tool. It's not necessary, but man, it makes life a lot easier. See how it pulls the tire up like that? I can reach in here and grab it. It's a handy tool. Tube. I like to do this part of the tire, getting the second bead off on the ground, because it gets to be a little tough sometimes. We're not there yet. There it is, right there. Taking out the rim strip here. We'll go ahead and replace that as well. a bit on the crusty side, and we got, oh, this is typical rust inside the rim. We'll get this cleaned up before we go put the new tube and new tire on here. We're back over in the studio. Rim has been cleaned up. We went ahead and did a little spray clear on the inside here to help protect it from the rust. And if you're wondering why there was rust on the inside of the rim, is if you're out riding your bike in the rain or through puddles and stuff, water will get trapped in between the rim and the rubber of the tire, and that's where you get that, the rust right there on the edge of the tire. So we didn't make it perfect, but we got the heavy stuff off. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to mark the rotational direction of the tire, or of the rim I should say. And the reason I want to do that is because I want to match it up with the tire. I want to make sure the tire's rotation direction matches the rim. Now this is a rear wheel, and on our bikes, if I'm looking at this wheel from my perspective, the front of my bike is where the camera is, and the wheel will be rotating this direction. So I'm just going to take my Sharpie, and I'm going to draw myself a reference arrow right there on my rim. I'm also going to draw some reference lines here on the rim right where the valve stem is. Again, this stuff is just to help me make sure I keep things lined up. I'm going to put the tire on. I have a new rim strip here. So always put a new rim strip and new tubes in with new tires. The other one was pretty gross and kind of crispy when we took it off. And what the rim strip does is protect the tube from the top of the spokes right here. So you don't want those guys to be chewing into the tube. So that's where this rim strip. So we're going to be using our Heidenau Vintage street style tire on our 360, and I want to put on a few details on the tire so I make sure I orient it correctly on the rim. One is it does have a directional arrow on the tire that indicates which way the tire needs to spin. The other detail I want to point out to you is on, at least on the Heidenau's here, you got these two little red dots. These are balance marks for the tire, and once I finally have the tire installed on the rim, I want to make sure I line up those dots with the valve stem, on the tire, because that's the best balance point for the tire. Sometimes it's going to be a white dot or a yellow dot or a blue dot or a red dot, about the size of about the diameter of a Sharpie here. But that's how Heidenau does it. But a lot of tires will have a balance mark on it, and that means you need to line up with the valve stem. Go ahead and lubricate my tire up here with tire lube. There we go. Put the first bead on, we're back up top of the bench. And what we're going to do now is I'm actually going to pry the other side of the tire on the rim first without putting the tube in it, which you might think is going to be why. And the reason is, since this tire is new, what we're going to do is we're going to give this an initial stretch to fit over the rim, and then we're going to pop it back off and put the tube in. It's going to make putting the tube in a lot easier since the tire will have been stretched out a little bit. It also is going to help prevent us from pinching the tube with the lever, especially when it's new. It's really easy to do that with new tires and new tubes, because you're stretching and moving and you're prying, and you'll end up poking a hole in it. I'm going to be using our outer rim bead holder tool to help me put this on. And what this is going to do is keep the edge of the rim from popping up, or edge of the tire from popping up while I'm prying it in place. My outer rim tool, it's in there. I'm going to bring down that screw to help hold it in place here. Just hand tight. See how it kind of holds the bead in place? So as I work my way around the tube or the tire here, I'm not going to have to fight it. Coming in, taking a bite, just like that. Work it around like that. Makes it so much easier than versus having to hold one lever there. That little guy is in place. Super handy to have in your road toolkit as well.
always the hardest part. Lever in there. Bring the lever over there. So I have about 1.5 to 2 inches here between the lever and the next little piece. That bite's gonna be a kind of a small bite. Here we go. Almost there. There it is. On. So you can see how that tool made it a lot easier to get the keep the tire in place. It's time for a new tube. We're also using a Heidenau tube, and this is nice because these are all 100% rubber tubes, as opposed to like a part rubber, part plastic, which you didn't realize was a tube. On my valve stem here, I'm going to take off that cap and take off this nut here. So before I even attempt to put the tube into the tire here on the rim, I'm going to take my pump and give the tube just a little bit of inflate and shape so it is not flat. Now, depending on how it ends up fitting inside the tire, I might have to add a little bit of air, take a little bit of air out. But yeah, you know, just enough shape that it's like a tube now. All right, my next thing, a baby powder. I'll take some baby powder and I'm going to sprinkle it all over the tube. Just going to coat the whole inner tube with baby powder. What this is going to do is keep the tube from sticking onto the inside of the tire, because we're going to end up kind of sliding the two of them around. So I always baby powder up the tube, powder on the inside of the tire as well. Now comes what I think to be probably the hardest part about this whole process, which is getting the tube, not only in the tire, but getting the valve stem to line up here. Sometimes it goes really quick, and sometimes, well, it's a real pain. So it's kind of our orientation right there for now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take the tire, pick up the tire, start kind of packing the tube inside the tire. With the last part I'm going to get to is going to be this valve stem right here. Our valve stem is lined up with our hole. This is where we use our tire tamer tool. Come in here and pry that up. And that way I can get this valve stem hopefully down in here. Almost had it. There it is. Just get my fingers out. We'll be in business. There it is. Woo! All right, before I do anything, I take my other nut and throw it on there. Keep that from going anywhere. All right. Okay, tube is in. Now we got to put our tire bead back on. Before I do that, I'm going to try to line up my my stem and my balance marks a little bit more. Hold the tube there and grab the spokes and just kind of turn it like that. That's why we put the baby powder inside to help it slide. We'll take our tire lube. And we're going to do what we did before, lube that all up. When I start this whole process, I want to start about 180 degrees away from the valve stem, because as I finish up the bead, I don't want the bead to finish up right here in the valve stem area, because it is the hardest part to get on the rim, and it's actually kind of the fattest part. So as long as you do it during the process, it's fine, but if you end here, it's a problem. So I'm going to start over here, 180 from it. I also want to make sure I only use the very, very tip of the tire lever, just enough to pry. I don't want to be jabbing this in here because I don't want to stab and pop the tube, because then we're doing this all over again. There we go. Use one lever to help the other lever out. Last a little bit over. Done. on. All right, I'm gonna let the tire sit for a little while to make sure it holds its pressure, that we don't have a slow leak, but I'm pretty confident that we got the tube in just fine without pinching it. So once we're good with that, we'll get ready to put it back on the bike. All right, our tire's on, it's holding air. We're pretty happy about it. Our next few steps are gonna be to throw the tire or the whole wheel back on the bike. And we are gonna go ahead and install some balance beads inside the tire. Since our old tire was balanced with balance beads, we'll do that to this tire as well. We got a different video on that, so make sure you check it out here on our YouTube channel. Also, a couple notes. No, this is a steel wheel, and we weren't really afraid of scratching it up. If you're afraid of scratching up your wheel, whether it be a steel wheel or even an aluminum wheel or a tubeless tire wheel, we highly recommend using some rim protectors, because as you're prying with the tire levers, you can gouge up the rim yourself. So get you some of those plastic kind of protectors that go on the edge of the tire. They're for sale a lot of places. They're easy to get. So check that out. Final detail I want to talk about on some of the tools. We're really excited to have our own tire levers and our outer rim bead tool, because it makes the job a lot easier ourselves. What I have here is our tire lever compared against a Amazon special. And what we're going to see is how much longer our tire lever is. Our tire lever is a full 16.5 inches with a 1/2 inch shank on it, as opposed to some of the cheapy internet special ones, which are significantly shorter and thinner. You want the most leverage you can get, so the lever doesn't flex and move, and so you can really pry on that tire and get it over the rim. So the longer the lever, the better. Once again, this is Brenden here with Common Motor. That's common-motor.com on the internet. Make sure you follow us on Instagram and Facebook. Subscribe to our newsletter via the website, and of course, subscribe to us right here on this YouTube channel, and we'll see you next time.